In the Old Testament, though, there are Bibles that have an additional, I think, 14 books, 11 to 14 books called they're grouped together and they're called the Apocrypha. I didn't look up what that means. I just know they're called Apocrypha.
I don't, somewhere in the recesses of my brain, I know. Okay, Google.
This is how we do it here on the podcast.
Let's see how good Rick is before we tell him, though.
We'll fill time.
Keep padding.
We'll fill time.
The easiest place that you'll find them is in many Catholic Bibles.
Yeah.
The Apocrypha will be there between the Old Testament and the New Testament.
Yep.
And so if you're coming, excuse me, from a Catholic background, you say, well, this looks different than mine.
Yep.
That's where that difference is going to be. What's it Latin for?
I need more pad time. Apparently I can't spell, so that's part of the problem here. It says Apocrypha from Greek, to hide away in biblical literature, works outside an accepted canon of Scripture. This is from Britannica.com, so not a religious site, but works outside of the accepted canon of Scripture. That's interesting that, in essence, dictionary.com defines it as outside of accepted canon of Scripture.
And again, canon means standard.
Yeah, so R60 or in the Old Testament, which I've learned today, has 39 books. Because math is important, friends. Stay in school. Where's Billy when I need him?
I know, Billy, help us out.
And again, the Apocrypha, I've read them. There's a couple. Some of the books are interesting. They're all historical by nature.
Maccabees.
Maccabees is a great book. Yep. Actually helps you understand where we get Hanukkah from. So if you're kind of interested, I mean, there's some decent stuff there. It's not terrible. It just doesn't change anything we think theologically or anything we believe. And while the Jews accepted it as a historical book early on, they didn't accept it as part of like their canon of Scripture either.
Inspired.
So. Yeah. So
it's not necessarily like evil or bad. It's just not inspired in canon. Like if you read it, it's going to help you understand context, maybe mindsets, all of those kinds of things a little bit. So it's not a bad thing to read or understand a little bit. It's just not Scripture.
We wouldn't do devotions with it.
No,
I wouldn't do devotions with it.
Yeah, and again, if we go back to a few series ago, the book of Jude quotes from one of those books from the Apocrypha, and it was something that was accepted by the Jewish community in terms of its historical content. It was something that people knew. They recognized that passage when it was written into Jude.
And we could go deep into the weeds on this because some thinking is that it may not be Jude quoting the Apocrypha, but just quoting, like you just said, accepted Jewish wisdom literature of the time, which happens to also be referenced in the Apocrypha, and writings from rabbis in the Talmud. And again, we're in the weeds and maybe we don't care about it.
No, I think I wanted to bring it up because it emphasizes a point of there was a pastor that was talking about the Apocrypha, and he said there's a difference that we have to understand between things that are good and things that are God. And so that's what canon is trying to delineate, is the Apocrypha might be good, but we aren't confident to say that it's God. And so it might be something that's good. It's good to reference. It's good historical knowledge. It's good contextual knowledge, but we're not going to put the stamp of this is God's inspired word on it.
Because the early Jews didn't, the later Jews didn't. I mean, we come back to that concept of canonization, or
it's not a decision that's made now.
Correct.
It's affirming a decision or recognizing a decision that was made earlier.
Right.
Good clarification.